Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you are going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear listeners. So I had this conversation with this brother. So this man, he is a traditional healer. I had a lengthy conversation with him. That was when he shared this story with me. The message reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story? I always listen to your confessions. Well, I have come here with my own confession of the things that I helped this other man to do. This man, when he came to my father, at that time, I was still being trained by my own father to become the man that I am right now. The ancestors, they were still on their way coming to possess my body, and a lot of rituals were still being required so that the ancestors can come and take full possession of my body. I still remember that when this pastor came, it was during that time when there were soldiers that were coming from America going to Iraq. I still remember when this pastor took me and my father to his beautiful home there in Cranbourne. The house was really beautiful, and I still remember watching the news on CNN. There was a young boy who was saying that this thing that he was holding, the young man was holding a gun, and he was saying that this gun is the Lion of America. That image has never left my brain, and whenever I think about that and I think about the story that my father and that pastor did, well, this pastor, the reason as to why he had came and consulted with my father late at night, it was because his daughter, the daughter wanted to get married to this other young boy. But this young boy, even though he was from that same church, but the young man didn't have any money at all. Well, in that same church, there was this other man. This man, he owned a lot of bottle stores as well as some supermarkets that he was owning here in Zim. So the man wanted the pastor's daughter, but the problem was that the daughter had refused because she was quite young. The daughter at that time, my brother, she was only 17 years old. So the plan was that they were going to wait for her until she had reached 18 years, and on her 18th birthday, that is when the man was going to come and pay up for the lobola. But the daughter was actually refusing because she was in love with her boyfriend. It then happened that the young man then traveled. The man went to Canada, and the guy, he wanted to go and do some nursing there in Canada. So this young girl, she had high hopes of rejoining with her lover who had traveled all the way to Canada. But the father and the mother, when they came to our house on that night, they came, my brother, and they were wearing these big jackets because they didn't want anyone to see them, since they were like very popular pastors that were leading this certain assembly in our area. When they came, my father then consulted with them, and my father said that it was quite easy. And the father, since this young girl, she was like his offspring, he had the right to do anything that he wanted with her. If he wanted her to get married to a rich man, so she was supposed to follow her father's order, and she was not supposed to rebel against the father. Then that pastor asked my father what were they going to do. That was when my father suggested something that was really terrifying. My father said that it's either they were going to make this young girl to go mad, and when she would have run mad, then she was going to be rejected by her in-laws, or my father was going to summon up some spirits so that the spirits can come and sit in and stay in her womb. And by them staying in her womb, if a womb has something that is inside of it, then it won't be able to receive the semen that will be coming out of a man. And most of the young women that can't give birth, this is what would have been done to them. A spirit is sent, and then that spirit will go and start to reside in that woman's womb, and she will never be able to get pregnant, because for a woman to get pregnant, the womb is supposed to be free, to be empty, so that it can receive the seed. But when the spirit is inside inside there, the womb will just think that it is actually carrying a baby. That is why you see a lot of ladies, they end up growing old without ever conceiving. That is the way that the charms are created. So this is what my father was suggesting to this pastor and his wife. But the wife said, what will happen if we can't reverse this charm? Because I want my daughter to be able to give birth one day. I do not want her to be accused of not being able to conceive. So they said that my father was supposed to find a plan B. Well, the pastor and his wife then returned back to his place, and my father, he was left and he started consulting with his ancestors. I was with him. That was when the spirits reveals all that was supposed to be done to that young girl. My father then said that the spirits is spoken with me, my son. I said, what are the spirits saying? That was when my father said, the spirits have told me that ruare, ruare in our language, we mean a small rock that usually appear by the riverside. And my father was trying to tell me that the spirits had informed him that the young girl's private parts, it was supposed to be more like a stone. If she would try to make love to any man, the man won't be able to penetrate her, because a private part will be as hard like a stone, or the private part will just disappear. And these were the rituals that the ancestors had suggested that my father was supposed to do on this young girl, and for a price he was going to do this. My brother, that was when the pastor came and picked us up, and we went to his place. It was like late at night. When he was driving around, the pastor was nervous, because even along the way we met one of the elders, and the elders of that church, they recognized the pastor's car. So the elder then started flashing his headlights so that the pastor can stop for him. But the pastor kept on speeding the car, because my father and I, we were already wearing those traditional clothes that are worn by traditional healers. So the pastor didn't want people to realize that in his car he had a traditional healer. Yes, these people that call themselves Christians, most of them late at night, they go around consulting. They are the most people that consult. If someone tells you that they are a Christian, know that they are just hiding that fact that they consult, but they love to consult at night. And when the ancestors have blamed And when the ancestors have blessed them, then they will start blaming the African tradition, and they will say that it is evil because they do not want other people to be blessed by the same ancestors that would have blessed them. And most of these people that do this are these pastors. Just like that pastor, he came to my father to seek for assistance, but when he would be preaching at the pulpit, he would be actually accusing traditional healers of witchcraft. And my father and I, we once went to that pastor's church, and when he was busy preaching in front of the church, he started calling the ancestors evil spirits, the spirit of the dead. He said they are just evil spirits. My father wanted to laugh because this pastor was getting ready, preparing for his own daughter's wedding, yet for his daughter to be married to that rich man who owned a lot of bottle stores and some supermarkets, it was because of the charms that he had came to get from my father. Well, the charms were prepared. Then the mother was told by my father that she was supposed to trick her daughter to bath with those charms, but she was not supposed to know that the charms that she was going to be bathing with, they were actually charms that contained the charm that was going to turn her private part to be more like a rock, or when she tried to make love to a man, then the private part will disappear, so that all the young men that were chasing after her love will just dump her, so that the rich guy can be able to get married to her. Well, my brother, that was what that pastor's wife did. And when they did that ritual ceremony, they came back and they spoke with my father. When they spoke with my father, they paid up, and then the charms started working. Within a couple of days, we saw them returning back, and they told us that indeed, things were working out in their favor. And within a couple of months, my brother, we were already preparing for that young woman's wedding. And up until I moved out of that area, she kept on staying with her husband, who was quite an old man, but she kept on staying with her. They even had kids, but she never knew that her father, the pastor, did this because he didn't want her to get married to that young poor guy who had went to Canada. The father had been promised a lot of money. That man had said that for the lobola, he was going to pay a lot of money, and the pastor had been promised 2 of that man's bottle stores. He operated them, that pastor, for many years, and he never wanted anyone from his church to know that he was the owner of those 2 bottle stores. So what he'll do is that one of his brothers was the one that will go there to collect the money. He would just go there like late at night wearing clothes. He would wear these other big jackets. We call them bomber jackets, those big jackets whereby they have a big hat. He used to wear that one when you would be going to that bottle store to collect the money when the brother was not available. And this man, after he had been given those bottle stores by his new son-in-law, who was quite an old man, then that pastor actually called my father, and we went to that bottle store. We went there, I think it was somewhere around 2:30 early in the morning, when it was quiet. The bottle store had already closed early on that night. When we went there, the workers had already been told to go to their places. We went there and we summoned that pastor's ancestors using his totem, and we called them to come to bless this bottle store so that he can make a lot of money. Dear listeners, right there was a confession that I was given by this other man who is a traditional healer. I had a lengthy conversation with him via a WhatsApp call. Strange things do happen in this world. He was saying that a lot of pastors have come to him asking him to help them to be in communication with their ancestors. I'll come back with the rest of the other stories that he gave to me.